Okay, so welcome to the URBONUS podcast. I'm the host, Donatas URBONUS. I'm from Manila right now, and I'm happy to introduce my co-hosts, Rytis Vyšniauskas, who is on the other end of the media workroom here in Mall of Asia Arena, and also Gustas Šuliauskas, who is there in Vilnius observing all the World Cup action remotely. Pleasure to see you guys. Hello, everyone.
What's up, guys? How are you doing?
Pretty good. Everything's good.
Actually, for the second straight time, I'm almost late. Let's be honest. Today I was a bit late to the show due to Team USA practice because they have, let's say, different conditions here in the World Cup. I mean, it was their decision to have different practice facilities, different hotel, and it's 30-minute drive from Mall of Asia. But it's just always an interesting experience to go there. First of all, just to be able to approach anybody from Team USA camp. We have this issue where Italians decided to close their media availability for whatever the reasons were. I know that colleagues in Slovenia's group has issues approaching Luka Doncic whenever they would like to. But Team USA is a different beast. You can approach every player. I just spoke with Grant Hill, the managing director of Team USA program. You can talk to assistant coaches. I saw there was David Griffin, the vice president of New York Pelicans, visiting the camp. Willie Green, Pelicans head coach as well. Klay Thompson is in town as well for some 4-on-4 basketball event here. So a lot of USA basketball stuff here, and it's completely different. The cultural difference is obvious, and it's just a pleasure to have this great availability with the brightest stars of this competition.
4-on-4 basketball? What's
it's
that
a thing.
About?
They
What's
play
that
like
about?
15-minute game, and the game, like, we play for 21 points in Lithuania in streets, let's say. So it's like an official basketball tournament, a big thing here in Philippines. And Klay Thompson is coming here for this event, to, let's say, national finals or something. He has some shoe deals here in the Philippines. So he and Kevin Looney, I think, just arrived yesterday in Manila, and I already saw some pictures from nightclubs where Klay Thompson was attending.
So 4-on-4 basketball is actually a thing. I'm waiting.
I thought that 3-on-3 basketball is a thing.
Yeah, well, 3-on-3 basketball is a thing. We know that for sure. 1-on-1 basketball is a thing. Now it's 4-on-4. I'm just waiting until someone comes up with 6-on-6 concept or something like that.
2-on-2 is missing.
Yeah, nobody really plays 2-on-2. That's true. Yeah.
Anyway, Donatas, have you noticed any more seriousness from Team USA heading into the second round, or are they still have this laid-back approach where everybody's joking?
All seriousness is illustrated by Anthony Edwards and his hilarious media presence. What a funny guy. I mean, you could know about him a little bit from the media availabilities that he has in the United States, from the NBA. But when you meet him, in person, I mean, he's just dope, So I'm really enjoying every opportunity that I have that I can, approach him and talk to him. So he's a really funny guy. And I've just spoke with Grant Hill. He also said that he didn't think that he was that funny, but at the same time, behind his hilariousness, behind all these jokes, there's a lot of competition. He's a country guy. He's very competitive, and behind all these jokes, he's just ultimate warrior, and he wants to bring Team USA on the top. So it's really entertaining experience to watch him. Trash talking with players, with fans, with media, with everybody. So that's dope. Yeah, that's dope.
So I imagine the article about him is coming sometime soon. Or not?
I'm not sure, because I already made so many stories about him that I kind of try to move on from him. So, but yeah, it's just hard not to write a story about him because he's everyday article material.
So easy to write a story with him.
Oh yeah. You just throw the question and just put the recorder and that's it. So a lot of fun with Team USA. Not that much fun was yesterday when Greece eventually played a do-or-die game that we probably all didn't expect it was going to be that serious before the competition. So Greece, New Zealand, and I want to hear you guys from 1 to 10, how concerned you were about Greece's ability to finally defeat New Zealand and to finally advance to the next stage, watching them play, especially in the first half.
I would say about 8. I was pretty concerned because in the first two quarters,
that's a pretty high concern level, I would say.
Yeah, because in the first 2 quarters they had no offense, and at the same time, being a defensive-minded team, they didn't really look good defensively as well. They made too many mistakes, like communication errors. They couldn't grab rebounds, actually. New Zealand, I think, had like 8 or 9 offensive rebounds in the first half. So the score was 43-32, and you could see that Greece didn't have much quality on offense. They didn't have good spacing. They couldn't create good shots. I think their 2-point field goal percentage was like 26 or below. And at the time, I was definitely concerned because this Greek team doesn't really have a superstar that could carry the team, that could add the quality you need on offense. And yeah, we were thinking that, okay, after the halftime, they were probably going to talk about this. They have Papanikolaou as a great leader, as a captain. Itoudis, a really strong character as a head coach. And they should go out of the locker room angry and start being more physical, putting more pressure on defense. But also, I was thinking, okay, they will do these things, but will they score? Because they are so limited offensively. And somehow, yes, they managed to score, but it's still their full court pressure, their full court press, their defense, their physicality was what actually got them back into the game. And then they caught some rhythm offensively, started making some shots, found some mismatches using Papapetru. Of course, fourth quarter Larenzakis happened. That was a beautiful thing to see. But still, they needed, for example, Thomas Walkup to play, I think, 36, 38 minutes. And in the second half, basically, Itoudis decided to stick to his EuroLeague guys, let's say. Papagiannis had to play 33 minutes because Thanasis got into a foul trouble. And when they played that small lineup where Papapetru was a 5, they didn't score a single point with that lineup. They didn't allow much, but they couldn't score and couldn't create. And you could see that Thomas Walkup is not your typical naturalized guard that you see in FIBA. Usually, you see guys like Kendrick Perry, Lorenzo Brown, Shane Larkin in the past, like Bo McCaleb, all these guys that actually score, penetrate, play aggressive, shoot, play a lot of pick and rolls. And versus New Zealand, Thomas Walkup had like 6 switches with Jan Wetzel, a New Zealand center, in the second half, and he couldn't attack these switches. This is not his game. In the end, he got some points, he got some drives, he got some finishes, but he is definitely not a typical naturalized American point guard. So yeah, I was pretty concerned, but they managed to handle their business in the second half. Even though New Zealand they hung in there until the very last minute with some crazy shots they made. A couple of their guys really had great performances. Shea Illy, in particular. Actually, Isaiah Leafa has been one of their most consistent players in the first 2 games, and he didn't really show up in this one. So if he was there to make some shots, maybe they could have kept it even closer until the last seconds. So yeah, somehow Greece managed to overcome all these adversities and issues they were facing. But this team, we could see that they are really limited offensively.
That's why I'm not so worried, after that game of yesterday, against looking forward to the game against Lithuania, but we don't know how that one is going to go. Anyway, I was maybe a little bit less worried than Rytis after the first half. Maybe I would rate it a 6 out of 10 because New Zealand offered a great level of physicality to Greece, and usually that's what you expect from Greece, not New Zealand. But Greece was struggling, but also at the same time they were creating kind of good looks, let's say, at the rim especially. And I even remember Ritis on the commentary saying they were 4 of 18 from 2-point range, I think, in one moment. So Zealand were playing this hedge defense against Greece guards, especially against Thomas Walkup. I thought that was an interesting decision, to hedge Thomas Walkup on or switch with him. Usually with him, maybe you go under or you play drop defense, you let him shoot those mid-range shots or 3-pointers. New Zealand chose hedge defense, and I thought Greece were moving the ball pretty well. They were attacking the closeouts pretty well, but they were just not able to make those layups, let's say layups from 2-3 meters after some contact or after a Euro step. So while at the same time New Zealand made some 3-pointers and got some offensive rebounds. So I was like, okay, they're minus 10, but they're not going to make as many in the second half. Greece should probably improve their 2-point shooting, and it should be a tie game, in the second half, in the fourth quarter especially. But Greece made 2 huge runs, not with the scoring obviously, but with their defense to start the third quarter and to start the fourth quarter. I thought it was like 2 runs of like 7-0, 8-0. And basically that stole the game. New Zealand couldn't cope with their intensity levels, Thomas Walkup defense stealing the ball. And of course, Larentzakis finally made some shots for Greece. They found a guy who can score and who can win games for them. So, but yeah, it was a defensive minded game. And I thought New Zealand weren't ready, maybe a little bit for the moment, because nobody expected them to do so. And when they got an opportunity to do it, it felt maybe a little bit too big. And obviously, Greece made them feel like this.
Actually, watching Pero Cameron as New Zealand head coach at the beginning of the third quarter, when there were 2 turnovers in a row, a player couldn't inbound the ball for 5 seconds, and Greece started so strong. I think any EuroLeague coach would have taken a timeout immediately. 1 minute of this, it's enough. You take a timeout. And Pero Cameron obviously comes from a different basketball culture, has his own mindset. He just allowed his players to deal with this on the court. Didn't take a timeout. I was really surprised about that because, in my opinion, any EuroLeague coach would have reacted so quickly, just a timeout, because these guys are killing us right now.
I had the same exact note on my note list, watching this game, and I was about to ask this Pero Cameron in the press conference, but since the New Zealand lost, it was not that important, because the interesting part is that they actually bounced back at the beginning, but just later Greek made another big run, and that was probably the decisive turnaround of the game. My level of concern with Greeks was, I would say, 7, and mainly because I didn't like the body language in Greek national team camp, starting from Dimitris Atoudis, just spending too much energy and time dealing and complaining to referees in some obvious situations where actually the call was good. I'm not saying that the referees were doing a good job. I think that there were some mistakes here and there, but still a lot of energy was wasted there. Some other players also were too hot-headed. I remember that Lunzis also was spending too much time arguing with referees. Papapetru was probably the maddest Papapetru version that I saw live, watching the way he was even shouting at Kostas Papanikolaou. He was shouting at Moraitis when he was not moving the ball, and forced some silly shots, although it's not necessarily a bad thing. At the same time, Papapetru just wanted to win so much, and he approached as one of the key guys, key characters on the court that helped the whole team to step up. But I mean, when Thanasis got a 4 foul, I mean, a lot of things were going against Greece, but yeah, the way they bounced back, it's also, there was this interesting moment. I really love New Zealand in this tournament. They already let's say, challenged Team USA in a way that I didn't expect. They were, let's say, competitive in the first 2 quarters in the opening game of the FIBA World Cup. I loved their tempo. I loved their high-speed, high-paced game, physical defense. They were really very interesting group to watch, although they really lacked talent. But I remember when Greeks were down by 13, I was texting with another Lithuanian player who was also in the gym watching the game. And we had the same point. How long they're gonna keep up with this tempo that they offered? And basically the same thing happened against Team USA. You know, the Team USA just with their rotations, they at some point they broke the game and took the lead. So I think kind of the same, just a little bit later, happened with Greeks. And yeah, Thomas Walkup in this whole picture, he didn't have the best game. As Rytis mentioned, he's a different dimensional player and naturalized player, and I was not a fan of watching him trying to score in one-on-one ISO situations. He was shooting the ball pretty bad. Yeah, he hit some important shots at the end, but there were a lot of late clock situations where the ball didn't go in. But at the same time, watching this Greek chaos on the court, with Vitudis, all this stuff with referees on the sidelines, Laranzakis being crazy from the tip-off, Thanasis also, his energy is moving the roof of the gym. Papa Petro was so mad. It's so fun to watch Thomas Walkup and the way he reacts, the way he responds with this calm presence on the court. And as I asked it Dimitris Vitudis, it really helps on the court. He's always in presence. He never gets too emotional about situations, and they have that kind of point guard, and probably especially in this passionate environment and group of Greek players, it's a huge advantage for them, and he made right plays. Ironically, he became the first Greek player to dish, I think, more than 5 assists in 3 consecutive games. He also joined the rare group of Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, and one another player who made 7 assists in 3 first FIBA World Cup games ever. So, yeah, not the best game of Thomas Walkup, but his presence and his character on the court was also very important.
And I wouldn't say that he had a bad game. It's just the thing is, he's playing in a role he isn't used to be playing. Like, he is one of the ball handlers in his team, Olympiacos, or let's say Žalgiris in the past. But he would always have others, and those teams didn't depend on him that much offensively. We know his good qualities. We know where he's good at. He's an elite defender. He's a great teammate. He does all the right things, but he's not your flashy point guard who's going to carry the team or drop 20, 25 points casually in a FIBA World Cup game. So Greece being so dependent on him says more about Greece than about Thomas Walkup. They just don't have star power. They don't have an elite point guard, combo guard, shooting guard, whatever. And as a coach, well, you're working with what you have. You're trying to do your best. And in this case, well, Thomas Walkup has to take the load. And, him playing 38 minutes and Greece having 1 day less to rest before a very important game on the 1st of September versus Lithuania, I think this gives a big advantage to the Lithuanian team, because Lithuania just went through the group stage smoothly, easily. Kazis Maksvytis spreading minutes to all the players in the first 2 games versus Montenegro. He had to play his best rotation, but we handled the game very well. And for Greece, even versus Jordan, for 3.5 quarters, they couldn't relax. They tried their best versus Team USA, and now versus New Zealand, they had to fight like in a quarterfinal or a semifinal, because it basically was a knockout game. So it's interesting to see how will they recover and how prepared they will be for the second round, because that game is crucial. And there's also Montenegro, so for Greece, they need to win both games probably to advance to the quarterfinal.
Just keep your prediction of the second round.
I'm not predicting anything yet, but I'm just saying that they are in a tough position, and uh, probably you didn't expect the game versus New Zealand to be so tough. Maybe you thought that, okay, it won't be a blowout, but Greece should be in control. They should have this game played by their rules, let's say. But no, they were down 13. They were down 11 going into the locker room. As you said, you could see players arguing with each other on the court. There was this one situation where New Zealand team's captain, I forgot his, Tarangi, he was already hot, and there was such a huge miscommunication in Greece defense that nobody actually stepped up to guard him and to contest his shot, and he made an open free, and at the same time the referee called a foul in the paint for one of the Greece players. So New Zealand got 3 points and an extra possession, and then Papa Nicolau and Papavetru, they just started arguing like, you had to contest the shot. No, you had to contest the shot. And usually when you see these things,
I think it was Thomas Walkup who left the guy with the ball, and then Papavetru was like, "Yo, how the hell this guy is so wide open?"
Yeah, maybe. And also, then another play happened where Thanasis on a switch, he was guarding New Zealand's point guard Shea Ely, and he did a pretty good job, contested the shot. But the thing is, when Shea Ely released the ball, Thanasis already sprinted to the other side of the court, and there was nobody to grab the rebound. So New Zealand got an offensive rebound, Thanasis turned his back, and he saw, oh wait, I have to get back on defense. And New Zealand scored points. And these things are really frustrating. And you could see that players were not happy with one another. And I think I was not in their locker room, but probably there were some strong words said, and they managed to sort it out, and they came back after the halftime as a team, as a unit, and that's what helped them.
What actually, speaking of the locker room, what actually surprised me that Walkup after the game, he told that I asked him about the darkest moments of that game, and he actually said that even though looking from the outside, it might have looked, bad, even with all these bad body language examples, it was not bad at all. Augustas mentioned all those reasons why Greeks were kind of sure that they might turn around the games quite quickly, and despite it's probably the Greek thing, to be so emotional about some situations, and in a way that they were shouting at each other doesn't mean that something is wrong. So they were still united, just maybe a little bit more emotional. But in the locker room, even this was pretty cool, I would say, and they kind of recovered, and there was nothing, no tragedy behind this body language.
I don't think it's a problem, when you talk on the court a little bit more with more temper, let's say, like how Papapetru was telling Moraitis to pass the ball. He was completely wide open on the other side of the court. Moraitis shot a contested shot when he could have swinged the ball, and then somebody else was there to make an extra pass. So, a little bit more temper, because it's an important game, because if you lose, you don't go to the next round. But I think it's okay. And when these, let's say, mistakes happen on the defense, you also try to look for what happened here, because nobody really understood who left the guy there wide open. But I wanted to talk about last thing here about this Greece game, and about it's Papagiannis' defense. I mean, Shea Ely was killing the guy throughout the game, whether he was in the drop, whether he was switching for a couple of times in the second and third quarter. But in the fourth quarter, I think, that switching defense, and Greece basically went to the switch all much more in the second half. And I thought it's still not easy to score against Papagiannis. I thought in the first half, Shea Ely just got, and some other guys just got, not lucky, but they made mostly all the shots they were taking against him. And it's not sustainable throughout 40 minutes to hit every shot. That's not super easy. I mean, you're still shooting over a super tall guy with super long arms, and if you're shooting a mid-range shot, that's not an easy thing to do, to hit a shot when you barely see the rim. So his defense was suffering through the first three quarters, but then I thought in the end he did a pretty good job to allow Greece to have a chance to win with their few shots on the offense.
But also, this game reminded me of how much they lack Kostas Mitoglou, because Itoudis has really limited options. Papagiannis is their only true center, so you're using Thanasis as a 4/5, and Thanasis, he has this tendency to get silly fouls, and when he's in a foul trouble, your other option is just basically Papapetru as a 5, which is definitely not perfect. And Papagiannis playing 33 minutes is also not perfect. So if they had Mitoglu, the rotations would be more simple. Mitoglu can play as a 4 and as a 5. He adds a lot to your spacing. He can stretch the floor. So yeah, that's again, it just happened before the tournament, like minutes or hours before the first day of the tournament, and it's a huge loss for Greece, and you can see that right now. The evidence is clear.
I just imagine that, seeing this short roster of Greece, Lithuania probably will go to Jonas Valančiūnas early on Friday, trying to get Papagiannis into foul trouble, because, the more he's not on the court, the better for Lithuanians will be. So it will be interesting. It's really interesting to see the game plans of both Lithuania and coaches and Dimitris Itoudis, because Lithuania had a great game plan against Montenegro, and we all perfectly know what Dimitris Itoudis is capable of inventing. So it will be an interesting game.
Before we continue with Serbia, there's just one short important note. Courtside 1891, our podcast partners, offer a 10% discount code that you can for our listeners and viewers. And the discount code will give our viewers and listeners to receive a 10% of the max FIBA World Cup pass. So for you to keep up to date with all the World Cup action, that is going to be more and more interesting in the upcoming stages, not just with the top 16 teams that remained in the competition, but even with the others who will try to get those tickets to the Olympic Games. So use that discount code BASKET23 to get a 10% discount for all FIBA World Cup games. All the instructions you can find in our video description. So we can continue with Serbia, and their path to the next stage was way smoother than Greeks. They were the third highest scoring team in the tournament with 104 points per game. The average margin of their wins was over 30 points, and it feels like we already heard that somewhere, right? It feels like that last year the vibes around Serbia's camp were the same. Augustas, you wanted to break down their game and their group stage a little bit. What did impress you the most about Serbs?
It has to be their offense. I mean, with the numbers that you just mentioned and the way they looked. Obviously, a big editor's note here would be that the quality of opponents they played and the level of defense. For example, South Sudan showed yesterday. They were getting Bogdanovic on the pick and rolls pretty high, and Bogdanovic were just beating that defense pretty easily, and then it's a extra pass, beating closeout with the dribble, extra pass, and it was a beautiful basketball to play. I think Serbia had 17 assists, and only 4 turnovers in the first half. So they scored 56 points. It was too easy because South Sudan were helping really heavily in the paint, and it's a little bit, you can't really value them that objectively, I would say. But with how they move the ball, with the shooting they have on the court at the same time, they have, let's say, I know Stevan Jovic is not the best shooter out there in the world, but he also can hit a shot, and all the other 3 guys on the court with Milutinov, who is rolling strongly to the paint, to the rim, is everybody can shoot. And Bogdanovic looks in shape. He looks sharp. Nikola Jovic is probably one of the biggest surprises of the tournament. I know he had a great friendly game run, but the guy has played like 22 games in the NBA. We did not see him much. I think he played like 200 minutes in total this season. But he improved so much during this season. I think it's one more testament of how Miami is the right place for guys, for rookies to improve. And the guy, Nikola Jovic, had 9 of 9 shooting yesterday. And he added so much to his game. He improved his shot mechanics. He had 5 of 5 3-pointers yesterday. And with his size and his ability to drive is just amazing to see, you know, how well he fits in the Serbian team.
Jovic is averaging 17 points per game, almost 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 67% of 3-point shooting. His efficiency average is also 20.7, and all those numbers are behind only Bogdan Bogdanovic and Nikola Milutinov in those different departments. What's the biggest difference that you see? I mean, we both watched their preparation games, and it felt like that Jovic was rushing so many plays. You know, he was just too raw for the national team basketball or for the senior Serbian national team. Where did you notice this main difference that, you know, shifted his game to another level?
I thought we saw that it was the first friendly game we saw. It was against Greece, if I'm not mistaken, and he was maybe it was the first game, you know, of the summer for him. Like I said, he has played few minutes in the NBA this season, and it was the first, let's say, official friendly game. I think they had 2 behind closed doors, but it's still not the same. And now Jovic looks much more calm, much more, let's say, confident with his decision making. It's either a quick shot, 3-pointer, it's either a drive to the rim, and, you know, also maybe, let's say, the quality of opponents have helped him as well. But now he is in the confidence, so everything looks much simpler for him on the court, and he's so tall, but he plays as a guard. So in transition, it's super hard to stop him. He has added, I think, some body muscle. And with his skill, like I said, when he is going to the rim, it's much harder to stop him. It's much harder to push him out of balance. That helps him a lot. And so I think that's the biggest change for him. But like yesterday, he was shooting a fadeaway 3-pointer on the 45-degree angle, or even more to the corner. And he was caught the ball looking to the stands, and he just made a fadeaway 3-pointer, and that's an NBA shot. You know, we talked on the podcast. If you see a shot like this, you know that this guy's, you know, from the NBA, because you don't see usually European players doing this kind of stuff. So I really love watching Jovic in the group stage. But to me, Serbia is maybe, you know, I said Italy should be higher in the power rankings before the tournament. But this first group stage, even if Serbia played against weaker opponents, have completely changed my mind.
Okay, before we go with our predictions for the second stage, there's this one elephant that we have to move out of the room, which is also, it's related to national teams basketball, but it's happening outside of Manila, Jakarta, or Okinawa. So what do you think about this whole mess in the Turkish basketball, where now Shane Larkin and Scottie Wilbekin lost their Turkish local player status? They were also fined and penalized with suspensions, with fines as well. And from what I understood from these reports, they're still eligible to join the national team in the future, but at least for now, they've lost this local player status, because, or at least we didn't report it on Basket News. I didn't see any reports like, oh, they lost their citizenship or something. They just lost the domestic player status. And let's say, how I read this whole report, let's say if they commit to come back to the Turkish national team, maybe they're, you know, regaining the status. I mean, this whole situation is messy, so I might be wrong with these facts, but the thing is that they lost their status in Turkish Basketball League, which is a big hit for FS, but especially for Vener, who were lacking of local players badly.
Yeah, they didn't get their passports cancelled. They just lost the local player status, as you said. To me, it all sounds really stupid, and it all sounds like there are way too many emotions here. The decision making is definitely based on emotions, not on rational thinking. And Shay Larkin had, as we read his response, he had good reasons not to play this summer. He played last summer injured, and he was dealing with injuries throughout the EuroLeague season. He definitely had some problems, and he just probably wants to be 100% for the upcoming EuroLeague season. And this decision, let's say, to take away their local player status doesn't really hurt them as much as it hurts their respective clubs. They already have their rosters built. They have the players signed, and now all of a sudden, two players, well, one for Fener, one for Efes, that you thought, yeah, these are local players for us. We can play them in the Turkish league. They don't have the status anymore. And the financial fine, it also doesn't really make sense to me, honestly. And what is funny is that they are punishing both of these guys, even though they could have only one of them on the roster. So, I don't know, man. In this case, I'm with the players. I would stand on their side. And when you're naturalizing players, when you already get into this game, you must realize that they will not play for your national team because of some patriotic reasons. That's not why they are in here. So you will deal with this. That one summer or the next summer they will decline the invitation because, well, they have other priorities. Maybe they have minor injuries and something else going on in their lives. So yeah, well, they are Americans with Turkish passports, and you cannot expect them to feel, let's say, the same pride to represent Turkey that Turkish players feel. So honestly, it just really puts a bad image on the Turkish Basketball Federation, in my opinion.
That's what I wanted to say. Bad image is probably the right wording that you just used about the federation. And you have to understand players. I think both of those guys are like 30 years old. They have history. They have the mileage on their knees and stuff. And it's normal that after playing last summer, and Shane was definitely not playing at 100% last summer. He wants to get healed. He wants to be ready for the season. And you expect the guy to again play on 60-70% on his knee. That's just not rational, and it's just plain stupid to do something like this. That monetary fine, I think, is like 3,000 euros. So that's nothing, but he's losing his domestic player status because he wanted to heal. I just don't. You said it correctly. When you get into the game of naturalization, this is something you have to be aware of, that this might happen, but you can't punish the players. I mean, you're not punishing local guys for not appearing to your training camp, are you? So if you naturalize a guy, why after 1 year or 2 years and when he's not playing, you have a different standard for him? That's just not fair, I think, in my eyes.
And I could add that you couldn't blame Shane Larkin for not being dedicated, because when he actually played for the national team, he didn't only play in the Eurobasket, he played during the qualifying windows. I think there was this situation where he played a EuroLeague game, and after 24 hours or something, he already played for Turkey. So he loves Turkey, he said it, he's proving it, and now the guy just wants to do what's best for him and for his club and for his upcoming season, and you're punishing him? I mean, come on. It's clear that Turkey lost that important game, the decisive game versus Poland in the pre-qualifier, and they reacted really emotionally because they couldn't cope with the loss, so they decided to play the blame game and decided to blame Scotty Wilbekin and Shane Larkin for not participating in this tournament.
Just my quick another thought. I don't see Lorenzo Brown getting any punishment from the Spanish National Basketball Federation. So
I think Jorge Garbajosa is a true gentleman, and he wouldn't come up with any stuff like that. I mean, and there were some really great exchanges, let's say, between Lorenzo Brown and his Spanish teammates like Yui Fernandez, who are grateful for what he did in the previous Eurobasket. And if things go right, maybe he will play in Tokyo Olympics, and they will welcome him once again. So there's no bad blood in there. Lorenzo also explained why he decided to skip this summer's World Cup.
What's your view, Donatas?
I mean, this whole situation is silly, especially when it takes Shane Larkin situation. I mean, I'm not even mentioning the fact that both of these players, I think that they shared their medical reports with the Turkish Basketball Federation that kind of proved that they're not at their best shape, that they have health issues and it's dangerous and it's risky. And with Shane, it's just amazing. I mean, last summer, he got injured during the Eurobasket. It completely screwed up the first half of the season. Eventually, it actually screwed up the whole season for FS and for Shane Larkin, who couldn't get back to his rhythm. And he's still dealing with these issues. And I mean, the guy played only 17 games last season, which is his career low in his 6-year EuroLeague career. The only time he played less games was just COVID year, 25. In all the other games, seasons, he played at least 33 games. Then the same goes with Scottie Wilbekin. I mean, he played 25 games for Fenerbahce because he also had injury problems, and it's his second lowest EuroLeague record since his debut season in the EuroLeague with Darüşşafaka in 2015-16. In all the other seasons, he played more games, and probably in each season he played over 30 games. So, I mean, for me, these are pretty serious reasons not to be, let's say, able to join the national team. And I mean, their cases were really big. They were important. We have NBA players who I would say have less health issues, less health concerns, but they do some for precautionary reasons. Them and clubs try to, keep them out of playing for the national teams, and it's fine. Nobody gets punished. Nobody gets any fines, penalties, or whatever. You're not losing your whatever status you have in your country. And suddenly, those guys, became scapegoats of the whole situation. Although I really believe that Rytis also mentioned all these examples. They already proved that whenever they were able to, they played. Shane Larkin also mentioned that he even played through injury in the Eurobasket, and you cannot ask them to force their bodies more because they're over 30. They already, made a big impact to Turkish national team, and I mean, for me, it's just silly. My mind cannot, understand this whole situation and the whole process that Turkish Basketball Federation is going through right now. But maybe it's just us Lithuanians that have no clue how things should be run or how naturalized players should be treated, because we don't have any naturalized players. So
I think
we do.
The only people.
Well, Brazdeikis takes the naturalized player spot.
Sorry.
So according to the rules, he's a naturalized player.
Officially, we have naturalized players.
I think that's the only people that don't agree with us here is Turkish Basketball Federation. I really believe I really believe that this situation is very well understandable from players, from fans, and that
from clubs.
Clubs, everybody is on the player side.
There's one thing. I had some conversations with basketball people from Turkey, and there was this one thought. If Ergin Ataman was still the head coach of Efes, not sure if these penalties were about to take place, for Larkin or Scottie Wilbekin, but since he's in Panathinaikos, the situation is a little bit different. So I kind of can see some sense behind, that idea.
A lot of sense, I think. A lot of sense.
Yeah, so, okay, let's go with our predictions for the World Cup. We will try to predict teams that will make the quarterfinals. So the rules are simple. 2 best teams of each group in the second round will qualify, and we'll go group by group. So we have group with Serbia, Dominican Republic, Italy, and Puerto Rico. What you guys think will advance?
I hate to say it, but I think Serbia and Dominican Republic will be in the quarterfinals. Dominican, and I think it's going to be, we will know it by the end of Friday, because Serbia are playing Italy, and Dominican Republic is playing Puerto Rico, and I think Dominican barely holds here, and Serbia wins against Italy, who haven't really, showed their game this summer, especially in the World Cup, and they had hard time beating. They had hard time in every game of their group match. I know Serbia, like we said, played in a very easy group, but I like what I saw. My only question about Serbia is that Nikola Milutinov pick and roll defense and how Italy are going to attack it. So there is a chance that I think Serbia are going to prevail, and Serbia and Dominican Republic will be going to quarterfinals from this group. Do you agree, guys?
I do agree with you, although I do see some room for something unpredictable to happen in this group. But Serbia is in a very good position, and I actually see them extending their winning streak to 5. And yeah, the second team, I have to put Dominican Republic as the second team to advance from this group because I believe they can overcome Puerto Rico. I'm not saying it's an easy game. Puerto Rico is more than capable of winning, but in that game, Karl Anthony Towns should make a big difference for Dominican Republic. And that win they got over Italy in the group stage, it's the difference maker in this scenario. So, yeah, I think Serbia and Dominican Republic will advance. Italy, well, they have their backs against the wall. They have to win twice. They have to repeat what they did last year in the Eurobasket. There's no Nikola Jokic, but there's Bogdan Bogdanovic, who is a true killer on the court. So, yeah, I think it's possible, but I'm not going to predict that.
Look, Italy can just have any time a crazy shooting night.
Yeah.
So you can never write off Italy, but I don't know. It's just they didn't give me much hope in this first round of gameplay. So I'm thinking Serbia are going to prevail, but we never know. You never know with Italy. And Gianmarco Pozzecco.
I agree with Serbia 100%, but I have this small hope of Italy doing something unexpectedly crazy because there's not much rational thinking behind this team. It's a very emotional team with the emotional head coach, very bad matchups for the opponent like Serbia. But the worst part is their situation in this group because I could see them beating Serbia because of the matchups. But at the same time, I have doubts that Dominican Republic will start losing games, and it eventually might end up where Dominican Republic will just get this better plus and minus advantage, going to the next stage. So I'm kind of, confused a little bit because I'm not writing off Italy, but at the same time, I don't have high hopes on Puerto Rico winning against Dominican Republic. So probably in this case, I will have to go with Serbia and Dominican Republic.
Yeah, Italy definitely needs help from Puerto Rico. They have to cheer for them because if Puerto Rico beats Dominican Republic, eventually you might have a freeway tie and the points difference will be calculated, so they could get into this position, but first they need help from Puerto Rico.
So, but I can imagine this scenario where they beat Serbia and after Puerto Rico winning against Dominican Republic, Gianmarco Pozzecco is just chomping on people of Puerto Rico national team, just celebrating together with them, being with them on the court and stuff. It would be a casual thing for Gianmarco Pozzecco.
Casual day at the office, huh?
Yeah. So, Group J with USA, Lithuania, Montenegro, and Greece.
That's the group.
That's where I want to hear
our listeners wants to hear our Lithuanian predictions.
I don't think we're going to disagree. I don't see where we could disagree. I mean, Team USA, too good. They're in the league of their own.
No doubt.
And Lithuania at the moment definitely seems the better team of the three. They already proven it versus Montenegro. So on September 1st, they have to prove it versus Greece. And it seems like they have a much better flow right now. And I believe they can definitely beat Greece. When we knew the brackets, when we knew the groups, way before the tournament, we were thinking about this scenario, but we were also thinking about Greece with Giannis, with Slukas, with Dorsey, maybe some other players, and we were thinking that, oh man, we're in trouble. This is probably where it's going to end. But this Greek team, I respect them a lot. I respect their fighting spirit and everything. But I think Lithuania is a better team in a better position right now, and I think we should advance.
I agree with you. I mean, I respect Greece as well. I love their playing style. You know, when you don't have much talent, they're still trying to get the most of this. But I think Lithuania should prevail. They have a, let's say, more dominant player inside, and I just loved what I saw from our guards in the game against Montenegro, against the drop defense. And it's not like Greece are going to defend any other way. Like Yorgos Papagiannis is going to be there standing in the paint, probably in the drop, at least for the half, at least for 20 minutes of game. You know, we saw some switching defense. So and that might cause Lithuania some trouble, but it's not like we have to just let's say lean on guard play like New Zealand had to do. We have Jonas Valanciunas inside, and if you switch, we can punish the Greeks from inside as well, or try to create the advantage here. So I think Lithuania will prevail and advance to the next round. And I don't know, Donatas was smiling a couple of seconds ago. Are you going to predict Greece advancing? Are you going to be the guy? Why are you not a believer in Lithuania?
I'm a big believer in Lithuania. I love this Lithuania team. I love the way they tactically approach Montenegro game. This decision to put Valanciunas on Doncic and then put Sedekerskis on Vucevic was just brilliant. It kind of looked quite, logical and very rational when we watched the lineup that the Lithuanians put defensively, but at the same time, it was kind of a little bit unexpected, even to some players, that the coaching staff, approached the game with this idea, and it turned out to be a very great decision. So I love the job that the coaching staff is doing. I love the chemistry of our team. I love that, for instance, players like, especially Rokas Jokubaitis, the way he was leading the team in the past few games. Mindaugas Kuzminskas, basically, again, recovering his national team career. We all remember that 3-4 years ago, he was out of rotation for the Lithuanian national team. He was not playing. He received a lot of harsh criticism here in Lithuania, and now he's the top guy in the efficiency in Lithuania, or like second best. So defensively, yeah, we all know all his flaws, but offensively he feels very good and he contributes in so many different ways offensively. But I just have this bad feeling, guys. There are
that we're not going to make 3-pointers like we did in the game against Montenegro.
This is one of the reasons, because we are not good shooting team. But there's this one thing: our offensive flow is dependent. We're dependent on Rokas Jokubaitis, right? And so far, he was doing a nice job in the last couple of games running the offense. But I'm just curious to see what kind of defensive coverages Itudis will put on him, because I don't know how it would work with the lack of depth that the Greek national team has right now. But if I remember well, Jokubaitis usually had issues trying to beat those, athletic, big forwards that, let's say, Thanasis Antetokounmpo is. I remember how, let's say, guys like J.B. Brown was always a nightmare for Rokas Jokubaitis. What if they will try to lock him down? What if they will try to isolate him from the team, and how the rest of the group, will swing the ball, will move the ball, and how they're gonna find ways? Then if we connect with, bad shooting nights, I think that Valanciunas, of course, is a huge advantage, and it's my, let's say, big hope that my fears doesn't have much sense. But I just feel that, Greeks, they have the experience. The core of this team, they're so experienced that they were on the highest stage, both internationally or with their clubs. This team, with Rokas Jokubaitis, he never played solid in a big game when, the future of his team was on the line. Ignas Brazdeikis, can we really trust the guy? Jonas Valanciunas, yeah, we can trust him, but I just have these little doubts, and of course it's also related to bad memories from 2017. Thank God they don't have Slukas, but I just have these concerns, and just to make this conversation a little bit more interesting, I'm going with Greece to the second round, to the quarterfinal, and I just challenged Lithuanians, Jokubaitis and Brazdeikis, to become our new heroes, because I remember when Lithuania put their roster for this competition, we were like lacking of bigger names, whereas Grigonis, whereas the Sabonis and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's the great platform for new heroes of the national team emerge. That's how some our generation players, stepped up and made their name nationally and in the end internationally. So I hope I had, it's just me having a little fever right now and just saying crazy things. But yeah, I'm going with Greece. Sorry.
If I could respond a bit, I mean, you said like, do you really trust Jokubaitis? Do you really trust Brazdeikis? Would you rather trust Lundzis and Moraitis? I mean, yeah, okay.
As well.
Most of what you said makes sense, and your fears are normal. Objective. I could say some of the same things, and yeah, that's true. Greece can be a really uncomfortable opponent. Also, I don't agree with you saying that Lithuania is not a good shooting team. It might not be the most consistent shooting team. Some of the players are not very consistent, but I think we have really good spacing and players that can actually shoot. So if Greece, let's say, tries to defend in a zone, we can punish that, definitely. Jokubaitis' importance being highlighted. That is fair. It's the first time he's playing with such a big role in a very important competition, because on club level, whether it's Barcelona or his early days in Žalgiris, he's never the main guy. He's somebody that can perform and can have good games, but on the nights when he doesn't, those teams have others. We don't really have anybody else. He will have to play 33 or 35 minutes. And I could imagine if Lithuania faces Spain, for example, Sergio Scariolo throwing box and one on Jokubaitis, because he would see how important he is to this team. But Valančiūnas versus Papagiannis, I think that's a mismatch. And if we get Papagiannis into foul trouble, I mean, yeah. So in general, like, I agree with some part of what you said, but yeah, when you say like, can we trust Jokubaitis? Can we trust Brazdeikis? It's not like they have better players,
I think one also interesting thing to mention here would be that we always in Lithuania, mostly like in the last Eurobasket, we were always saying, oh, we don't have a closer, we don't have a closer. The best player on the perimeter is not on our team, that's why we lose close games. If we go to a close game to Greece in the last minutes, I think we have the best player on the perimeter, Ignas Brazdeikis. And I know what Larenzakis can do in the fourth quarters. I know it by now. Like, if you told me last summer, I would have not believed you about Larenzakis in the fourth quarters. But I think in this game, Lithuania have the best perimeter player to close out games if needed. And when everybody's switching, I trust Ignas Brazdeikis to score against the bigs of Greece or against the guards of Greece. Like, I like his chances, even though it's probably going to be Thomas Walkup. Like, I think maybe Michalis Lundzis will start the game on the Jokubaitis and Walkup, maybe guarding Brazdeikis. Maybe if that makes sense. I'm not sure, but anyway, I think Lithuania have the best player to close out the game if we go to a close one.
Actually, you made a good point about Brazdeikis. That's also one of my hopes, that he will step up to that level that will be required to close the game. Because although his numbers, it's not like he's having an impressive stat line. He's averaging 9.3 points per game, but his shooting is really good. 57% from the 3-point line, 44 from the 2-point line, almost 5 rebounds, 2.3 assists per game. But what I've heard when I was talking to Lithuanian national team players during the group stage, they liked the improvement in his decision making. They feel that he's forcing plays, situations, and his shots less than before, and he's just feeling more comfortable on the court and, let's say, knowing his role, knowing ways how to score or to be efficient for the team, sharing the ball a little bit more. So that's another reason to believe in Ignas Brazdeikis closing the game for for ourselves. But for content reasons, I'll try to be the jerk, which will say that Greece, although being a less talented team in my eyes, will advance.
All right, let's go to the next group.
I hope you're right. I hope you guys you're right, because I don't remember. I lost this feeling of Lithuania playing in important games in FIBA competitions in the last 7 years. Thank God I'm not covering Lithuania just in this World Cup, but last 5 years I felt like a tourist in FIBA competitions. So it's not the best feeling, especially when I started my career with 2014 FIBA World Cup, 2015 Eurobasket, with our team going all the way. And then there was just huge gap where you're like, okay, let's support Latvia now in quarterfinals. So I hope we will have Lithuania, going until the end, the last day of the competition, whether it will be playing for something big or just for the Olympic qualification.
I think we'll have a nice discussion going forward. I hope also, Serbia versus Lithuania for the quarterfinal.
I hope.
Anyway,
I really hope.
Let's move on to the next group.
So Group K with Slovenia, Germany, they have 3 wins, and Australia with Georgia, they have 2. What do you think?
Germany and Australia. I think Slovenia will take 2 painful L's.
That's it. That's easy.
Do you want me to expand?
I was thinking a lot about this group, and I'm going to go with an extravaganza choice here. I'm going to go Luka Doncic getting a triple-double and winning against Australia to qualify for the next group, for quarterfinals.
Nice. If I can elaborate, I don't think that Luka Doncic has enough help this year, and they will face the elite of the elites, talking about the guards that Germany and Australia have. And with Slovenian defense, I just don't see them doing anything to prevent Patty Mills from dropping 30, or Josh Giddey performing on a very high level, or Dennis Schroeder dropping 30, Maudolov, whatever, and Franz Wagner should be back. So it's just, of course, that game in the group stage, Germany Australia, was really important, because it puts Germany now in a position where they can survive one mistake, they can survive one loss. Australia cannot afford that; they must win both. But they are just better teams. If I have to rank these 3 teams, I would rank Australia, Germany, Slovenia in a power ranking system, right? So yeah, I think we will see some exciting basketball, definitely. When you have Luka Doncic, you never know what's going to happen, and it's not like Slovenia will give up or anything like that. But even their wins in the group stage were not that convincing. Okay, versus Georgia, so far it has been their strongest opponent. They had a good game, I must admit, but I'm not a big believer in Slovenia this year.
Yeah, we talked about it in the power rankings about Slovenia and the preparation games. I'm going against the logic here in this game. I think, with Luka, you have just so many options offensively. You have the possibility to attack in the pick and roll. You have the ability to post up. You have the ability to just ask Patty Mills guy to come set a screen and make Patty Mills the defender in every possession. You can post up, Josh Giddey as well. Probably it's Matisse Thybulle who's going to get the assignment of Luka. And Australia, even though their front court is really thin, but they're trying a lot of switch all defense, and we all know how against Luka that's going to go. So it's not like Slovenia doesn't have chances, but I'm going against the logic here, and I'm picking Slovenia to be in the quarterfinals and not Australia.
I see your points. See why you're expecting miracles from Luka. Also, what's important that some guys stepped up, like Klemen Prepelic or Mike Taube. They're having some nice competition so far, and it's not that bad as I probably thought, but at the same time, I just have these memories of Tokyo Olympics. Of course, the team was different, but Australia was never a good matchup for them, and with the supporting cast that Slovenia now has, with the talent that they've lost in Chanchar, Edo Muric as well, and with the current roster, I just think that Australia is a better team, and they will prove it on the court. And I also go with Germany and Australia to the quarterfinals. So I'll try to be more rational with this one. And the last group, that's where I expect least irrational picks. No? Canada, Spain, Brazil, and Latvia. Do we all agree with Canada and Spain going forward, or?
Yeah, Canada and Spain. I mean, I'm sorry, August. I just have to say
it's all good. I have the same choice.
Yeah, because in the comment section after our first 2 episodes, there were some people saying, "Good, you're still not talking about Spain. You're still not taking them serious. Good. Now we're definitely going to win a medal." And I must admit, I didn't see much of Spain. I didn't have time to follow their group. I only saw the second half of their game versus Brazil. I was really impressed with some of the things I've mentioned previously, like Juan Nunez, how their bigs are performing, Vili, Hernan Gomez, Santi Aldama, even Usman Garuba. I mean, so far it has been a good tournament for them, and they do have enough quality now, and they're in a very good position with 3 wins. So I don't see why they should lose to Latvia, let's say. Latvia had their miracle game already. Can they repeat it against such a smart coach like Scariolo and a team like Spain? Honestly, I don't think so. And Canada is Canada. I mean, come on. With Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the way he's playing, and their ability to just push the button and start defending like crazy and break the game in 3 or 4 minutes, of course Canada has to be in a quarterfinal. It's a no-brainer. So, yeah, I mean, Brazil is a good team, but can they beat Canada? I don't think so. And Latvia, well, Latvia versus Brazil should be a nice game to watch. We should see some beautiful plays, some flashy passing from Žagars and Marcelinho, but I don't see these teams making it into the quarterfinal.
As you said, we were like not talking enough about Spain. I got a chance to saw a little bit against Brazil, and it's just, I mean, we are not talking about them as much because they didn't really have that big of a group as of yet. We talked about Serbia as well for the first time, I think today too. But Spain is beautiful for what they're doing in offense, for their continuity, for their team play. But the thing probably I like the most is how they have a perfect plan. It seems like they have a perfect plan against every opponent. And with Sergio Scariolo, that's what you expect. But it seems like every time I tune in to watch Spain, it's like they know perfectly what they're doing. They know what they're doing against every player. It doesn't matter that 11 players are in the rotation. And, if you open the box score of that game against Brazil, everybody played from 23 minutes to, let's say, 15 minutes, like 10 players, I think, did that. So it's beautiful that so much players, everybody who steps on the court know what to do. And that's just a testament, another testament of how Sergio Scariolo and that his coaching staff are great. So I expect Spain to beat Latvia. And Ritis, about Canada, we already talked, and you said it best. They are amazing. Their defense is brilliant, and Shai is just elite. There is nothing to add here.
I just love this picture where Artur Žagars was proposing to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It was all over the internet. I mean, Shai had these brilliant plays, like not only against, let's say, Žagars, who's a smaller guard, but the way he aggressively attacked the switch of Roland Schmitz in one play, that was huge. I don't see EuroLeague players doing that, because in EuroLeague we consider Roland Schmitz as a really tough guy, and when you get him on a switch, usually you don't have much of an advantage, and Shai Gilgeous just casually bumped into him, blew him away, and went for his routine jump shot.
Yeah, so not much to add. Latvia reached their, let's say, maximum what they can get. Brazil, with Raul Neto, the situation might have been different, but I think that with Canada having no flaws, Spain kind of erased all these doubts. We've figured out how to play with Nunez as their main point guard, despite being at such a young age, but he fits the team well. I mean, don't see reasons why the two teams qualifying to the next stage should be different. So thanks a lot for your predictions. Thanks a lot on being on this show. By the way, to all of those who sometimes think that, we didn't cover Spain enough, we didn't talk about Serbia much. It's really hard to keep up with all the teams because me and Ritis, we are working in Manila, in Mall of Asia. So we have a lot of coverage to do here. Except from watching games or commentating games like Ritis, I also have to do coverage like in Team USA practice facilities that are far away from somewhere, or I have to do some basket news logs in local markets and stuff. So it's not like that we have entire day to watch all of those games, but for sure in the next stage, I believe the amount of games that we have to watch will be a little bit less, and we might have a better look at those other groups as well, and we try our best to cover as much as possible.
Donatas, how excited are you that today in our venue the classification for 17 to 32 places is starting? Are you pumped up for these games? I don't care about
those games, but the problem is that these games are so important, you know?
Yeah, for
they're
some
playing
teams,
for Olympic qualifications, and it's just crazy. Not sure if, from one standpoint, it makes sense to qualify to the Olympics and to make every game matter, even with these classification games. But I mean, it's just too much of basketball. I don't know, especially for me as a reporter. I cannot be at my peak, let's say, form every single day with so many games. I don't know, it's just too much basketball. Maybe if I would be watching games on TV, maybe I would be good, but not a big fan of this format. So after the podcast, you are going to watch some Egypt, Mexico, and I don't even know who's playing. I was actually surprised that somebody was playing today when I entered the gym.
It's a game day. It's a proper game day. I'll just grab a bite and
I
maybe
think somebody played yesterday and
games.
they're playing today as well.
Yep,
what the hell is that?
That's true.
Yeah. So New Zealand, are they playing today? I think they're playing today, actually.
New Zealand, Mexico, 11:45 in 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Wow! And after yesterday's game versus Greece, they have to play today. Oh, that's gonna be tough.
So they had this great game, this great group stage, and now they're playing in less than 24 hours, and it's not going to decide their fate for the Olympics.
For New Zealand,
right?
no, because Australia simply took the Olympic tickets. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's imagine if this situation was different and that this game really mattered for them. I mean,
actually, a really
is it
funny
really
thing,
the best way?
Maybe not, but probably we don't have time to discuss the alternatives. But I just remembered one funny thing. The Phoenix Suns, after Japan's last game, posted on social media Yuta Watanabe's numbers and said Yuta Watanabe in his final World Cup game, and posted his stats. And Yuta Watanabe himself retweeted his own club's tweet by saying, there are still 2 more games to go for us to reach the Olympics. So he had to remind his own club that the World Cup is not over. I'm still playing for these places, and we can still get to the Olympics by being the best ranked team from Asia. So that was kind of a funny thing, and yeah, for Asian teams, for African teams, this is huge, because if you're the best from your continent, you will get to the Olympics.
The tournament starts now. For these teams, the tournament actually starts now, and I remember the Jordan head coach actually in the press conference, he told that they were preparing for this 5-game marathon, with a clear idea that they were about not to make to the second stage, and that's where the Olympic qualification will be decided. So
since you said if I'm watching any games now, I know it's not happening in Mall of Asia, but today I'm once again gonna be cheering for South Sudan. I was cheering for them in the group stage, and I want them to be the best team from Africa to get to the Olympics, to continue chasing their dreams. So I'll be supporting them for sure.
Okay, and I will cheer for Lithuania tomorrow. I hope to be that guy who will be remembered as when the head coach will bring the question, you were the one who said that we're not going to qualify. It kind of, got us united, and we proved you wrong, and then made it to the next stage. So I hope to be that guy.
True hero.
Thank you, guys. You're my heroes. Thanks for watching, listening, and see you soon in a couple of days when we will cover some of the important games that will happen. Follow basketnews.com on YouTube.